All right, here we go. We're going to do some construction review. I will let you know that there is some background noise going on here, so enjoy the tunes that you hear, if you can hear them. To construct, anytime we're constructing anything that we're going to be doing in sequence, to get the measure of something, you simply put the compass point on one end, the pencil point on the other, as exact as you can. And then you're going to start. You always want to put a dot to show, indicating that's where you're starting. This is 1, this is 2, and one more would be 3. Now I know it said 2.5, I'm just going through this. Anytime you go further than the line that you have is, you just extend the line. And then 2.5, I'm gonna have to use the bisect construction. So I'm gonna need to go ahead and do the more than halfway. So arc. Now remember, when you flip it around, it needs to go on this end here. And this is definitely not how I would hold the compass. I'm just trying to get it so that you guys can see the moves. And remember, as long as it's more than halfway, it will bisect. So there is my point right there. So that would indicate 1, 2.5 of MN. To do 1.75, if something like that were to happen, you just have to think of all the constructions you have at your disposal. So again, this is 1, and here's 2. Okay, so again, I should have put a little dot there to show where I started. Okay. 2 is too far, I need to go 1.75. So I need to find half first, because really, like, besides doing a hole, I pretty much know how to bisect. That's the other thing I can do. So I'm going to go to half. And then if you think about it, if this is 2.5, or excuse me, if this is 1.5, right there, in between here and here is going to be 1.75, because half of a half is a quarter. So that's not a construction that you're necessarily told how to do. It would be one that you would have to figure out. So you'd have to say to yourself, okay, how am I going to get 0.75? You always need to come back to what you know. You know how to bisect angles and segments, and you know how to make things parallel, you know how to make things perpendicular. You always need to go back to those, okay? To construct a copy of a triangle, I would absolutely just go ahead and copy all 3 sides. So they're showing you where they want B prime to end up. So I would just start with B to C. Okay. Bring that over and copy it. Obviously way bigger than I need, but just making sure I have it there. And then I would copy B to A. Okay. Again, make sure it's nice and big. And then what I still need is C to A. So I would come over C to A. Now I do know that this point here, that point must be C prime, because I copied BC already. So I place my compass point at C. I arc. Now I made that big one because I know that's what people do often. Remember, that was where C prime was. This is the intersection that we're trying to find for A prime. And then because I found that, I would go ahead and connect. Now I'm using a pen for the connection, mostly just so that you can see what I'm doing. On the Regents exam, this is something you would be allowed to use a pencil for, they would accept the pencil, just so you're aware. Okay. Moving on to the next one, we're creating a line parallel. So anytime you do a parallel line construction, you're really just copying an angle. Okay, so first thing you want to do is create a transversal. It just says create a line parallel through C, so I don't have to go anywhere specific. So I just start by making a transversal. Now what we're going to do is copy that angle up here. So to do that, I take my compass at the intersection there. I make an arc of any size. Oops. Moved a little bit on it. Okay. And again, I'm sorry for the noise in the background, but that's life, people. Okay. So there's that. Okay, so that's step 1. Arc, repeat at the point. Then we measure from the arc that we made. Okay. Now this is the part that people get thrown off. They always try to put it on C. We just measured the arc, so we place the compass point on the arc and swipe. And then that intersection will make this segment parallel to that segment. Okay. creating a line parallel to DE through F, so it's the same construction again. So again, if you wanted to see that, this can go anyway, so I'm going to make it go a different way this time. Okay, it goes through the point. Oops, sorry. Okay. So again, I just angled it a different way this time, because you always just start with a line. Okay, I copy an angle, arc, so I just made that arc up, and I'm going to go ahead and remember, it's sometimes easier to move the paper than it is the compass. Okay. Now the whole reason I made that arc is to measure it. So I'll take my compass, pointed end, pencil end, and get that measure. Sorry that I have to block that, just the angle of the camera. Okay. And then remember, you don't go to F, you go up to the arc. Okay. And then once you're there, you make that arc, and where they cross is the other point that you will connect, the already existing point, and that will be parallel to that. Okay. Perpendicular bisector, remember that's just like any bisector. That's where you go on one end, you go more than halfway. Quick reminder that this also is how you get an isosceles triangle. So when you make this line, this perpendicular bisector, anything on it will in fact be the same distance from A and B. So you could pick a point here anywhere and connect, and that would be an isosceles triangle. If you go the entire distance and do the same construction up and the other way, that will be an equilateral triangle. Okay, create the perpendicular line through a point. Anytime they say through a point or it's anything like that, you always start at that point. So this is where we put our compass point on A, and we make an arc in both directions. The reason we do that is because we now have 2 points that A is factually in the middle of. And now we just do the bisect construction as we've done in the past. So we go more than halfway, arc, and again, more than halfway and arc. We always go back to that more than halfway construction. We just first, when it's like this, right? So this is different than this, because here I was given 2 endpoints and I wanted to find the middle. Here, A could be anywhere on this line, and we have to make a perpendicular bisector. So again, same thing, just a different line, okay? Start on the point, arc in each direction. The whole reason you did that is so that you have 2 endpoints that I'm highlighting right now in pink to bisect. So when you go back there, more than halfway, arc, other way, arc, and you have a perpendicular line through that point. If it's off the line, it's going to be the same thing. You're going to start with the compass point on the point, and you just need to make sure that your pencil goes over the line. But do you see how I just made 2 points again? So 1, 2. Again, the whole reason I did that is so now I have something to bisect. So I go here, arc, here, arc, and connect. Again, I'm connecting where those met. Okay. So we'll see that one more time. Always start on the point they give you. Make sure you go past the line. So I did. The reason I make sure of that is so I touch the line in 2 places. If your arc was bigger and you went way out here, you would just extend this line. Then you can go more than halfway, which you already are, but you can open this, or you can change that. It doesn't have to stay, as long as you do the same compass distance, compass length from each endpoint. And then once you have that, you can connect. Okay. Angle bisector, again, it's going to be almost the exact same moves. You start at the point, you make an arc, then you bisect that arc. 1, 2. It's that simple. It's really speedy, actually. So I'll show it again, of course, but you start by putting your compass point on the vertex of the angle. You make an arc of any size. It just needs to pass both rays that make the angle. And now, just like before, you have 2 points that you can bisect. So you just have to make sure you've gone more than halfway. And you really only need to go in one direction for the angle bisector, because you have this point. But if you wanted to continue that all the way around, it would still be correct. So really, once you know that midpoint construction, the perpendicular bisector, it's the same thing through all of those. Okay? All right, the next one is given the side of a square, construct a square. So this is just showing the many different types of things that can be asked of you, or you have to put pieces of things you've learned together. So to construct a square, I know I need 4 equal sides. So I'm just gonna go off of that fact and then see if the perpendicular lines come from it. Okay, so I know that I need this to go in this direction. So I copied it in that direction. Now I'm gonna go over here. I need it to go in that direction. And now I'm stuck because I don't have a solid location on either of those to find my last point. So now I need to take into account that a square also needs to have a right angle right here. So I'm gonna do that perpendicular construction where I put the compass point on C and I make an arc in each direction. This is a perpendicular through a line, or through a point on the line. Extend more than halfway, here I go, back the other way. Okay, so now I have my right angle, and that is going to cross. So from C to here, I know that that's 1 full length. And I already have this corner. So again, I'm just gonna grab that length of CD and come up here, and there's my 4th corner of my square. So now I can connect. It will all have right angles because of the way I've constructed it. So I only really needed to do 1 right angle construction, but there is my square. And that's not really, you know, it's just something that you have to put them together to do. Okay, so for an equilateral triangle, when we inscribe it, you're going to, I always tend to draw a diameter for all of these. I've taught it a few different ways over the years. For a equilateral triangle, you need to start with the length of the radius in your compass. So I have that length now. Then you come up here and you go 1 and then 2, and you just keep going around. 3, the sharper the pencil, the better the compass, you know, all that good stuff. It should be a total of 6, 4, 5, and you should land almost perfectly where you started. Now I'm off a little bit, that will happen and it's absolutely okay. Now we connect every other. So I'm gonna connect this one, skip, this one, skip, and then that one. And that will be my equilateral triangle construction. Okay. Let's say they wanted you to construct a 60-degree angle. This would be the way to do it, right? All 3 of those are gonna be 60. If they wanted you to construct a 30-degree angle, construct an equilateral triangle, bisect the angle, all sorts of stuff. The hexagon one is just like that, but this is the square now. So the square, you start with a diameter, can go in any direction, and you bisect that diameter. So again, compass point on one, more than halfway, make your arc. Compass point on the other, same, more than halfway, and make your arc. The thing people will do on accident is they'll connect these to that. That's not what you're doing. You need to first make that diameter by extending, and then now on the circle is where you connect. So where all those line up on the circle is how you're gonna get your inscribed square. One more over here. Okay, so that's your inscribed square. And then an inscribed hexagon, again, that's gonna be just like your equilateral triangle, but you will actually connect all of the dots this time. So grab my measure, there it is, and I start going 1, round and round. 2, be as exact as you can. 3, sorry, I gotta block the camera. 4, 5, and 6. And then you connect all of those dots. As you can see, I'm not connecting on that diameter, I'm connecting where the arc met the circle. So it's always where those arcs touch. So again, I'm lining up arc intersection to arc intersection. That is how I'm doing that. Okay. And the last one is octagon. That's not one of the ones that you were taught. You would have to think your way through it. So it has 8 sides. So you have to think, okay, well, I know how to make 4 sides. So if I bisect that, well, that would give me 8 because that would give me double. So we start with the square construction and we bisect more than halfway, more than halfway, So that gives me 4 equal pieces of a circle. And then now if I just cut each of those in half, I'll have 8. So I'll come out to the edge, and I'm actually gonna do I'm just gonna bisect this arc. And that'll do it for me. Okay. Now I don't need to do it down here because that will go diagonal through. So I just need one more up here. And again, the reason I'm not going above and below is because I know that that's going to cross through the center of the circle. So I have that intersection plus the center of the circle. So there's my line. There's my line. And then because it said make the octagon, I do in fact have to finish by connecting. And notice that I'm always connecting to where it touches on the outside of the circle. So that is the basic constructions. I threw a few other ones in there that just, is where you kind of have to think your way through it. But remember, when in doubt, bisect, and just try to think of all the different things you know how to do, how a right angle might apply, whatever it may be. Have a great day.